Trinadapi Sunichena Tarariva Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Harinama 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 Eva Kevalam Kalo Nastyeva 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 Gatiranyata. My name is Nirantara Das. I am an initiated disciple of the ISKCON founder Acharya, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. I have been his disciple since 1974, and I am invited to come here once a month to speak on Srimad Bhagavad-gita. Bhagavad-gita is the Gita-upanishad. It is the essence of all Vedic knowledge. Vedic knowledge is given to us primarily through Veda Vyas. Veda Vyas is known as Bhagavan Rishi, God appearing in the form of a great sage. Vyasadeva plays an integral part in the whole Mahabharata scheme, and Vyasadeva is the empowered incarnation. He was given the task to write down and compile the Vedic knowledge. Specifically, he compiled, first of all, he took the one Veda and edited it and broke it out into 4 divisions. Sama, Yajur, Rik, Atharva. Originally it was 1, but because he could foresee Kali Yuga, the people would be less intelligent, unfortunate, unlucky, disturbed, and so much disadvantage, he kindly took the one Veda and edited it and broke it out into the 4 divisions. We learn from the Bhagavad-gita, Krishna says to Arjuna, Nistraigunyo Bhavarjuna. Krishna says in chapter 2 that these Vedas mostly deal with this material world, comprised of 3 modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance, sattva, rajas, tamas. But Krishna advised Arjuna at the beginning of his instructions, you should become nistraigunya. You should become transcendental. So for those who want to become transcendental, Vyasadeva compiled, along with his disciples, 108 Upanishads. Then Vyasadeva also realized that these 108 Upanishads may be difficult for ordinary persons to understand. Again, especially in the age of Kali, when there's so much going against someone trying to become transcendental. The whole atmosphere of Kali Yuga is diametrically opposed to anyone trying to become transcendental. This modern day society is encouraging and promoting gross materialism. It is very difficult to be transcendental in this current age. Vyasadeva then took all that teachings of the 108 Upanishads and put that within the 18 Puranas. Some people make a mistake and they think that the Puranas are fairy tales. They're not. The Puranas are historical accounts. Just recently, I'm sure you were hearing so much about Ramayana. This time last week, I was in Santiago, Chile. And I was there for 12 days. And I was preaching on Lord Ram, because his appearance was previous. So that Ramayana is referred to as the fifth Veda. That Ramayana is also not mythology. That is history. That actually took place. So the Puranas are broken out into 3 divisions, 6 Puranas each. Why? Because as opposed to what people sometimes think, there are different classes of human beings. Some people are predominantly dictated by the mode of ignorance, tamas. Some people are dictated mostly by the mode of passion, rajas. And a small number of people are being under the influence of the mode of goodness, sattva. So you cannot have one size fits all. So Vyasadeva very kindly compiled 6 Puranas for people primarily in Tamoguna, 6 Puranas for people primarily in mode of passion, and 6 Puranas for those people in the mode of goodness. Then Vyasadeva wrote his master thesis known as Vedanta Sutra. Vedanta Sutra is his most scholarly work. But then one day Vyasadeva rose early in the morning, took his morning ablutions, sat down to perform his daily spiritual rituals for purification. But on this particular day, his mind was disturbed. We have all had those kinds of days. You wake up, something's not right. Something with the family, something with the business, something with your own health. You don't feel just right. Vyasadeva also one day was thinking and feeling like that. Just then, his guru appeared. Narada Muni Bhajaya Veena Radhika Ramana Name. There's a nice Bengali bhajan. That's the first line. Narada Muni, but he's always accompanied by that special instrument, tambura. That instrument was given to him by Lord Krishna personally. And when he plays those strings, it does not make the twanging sound. No, because that instrument was given to him by Krishna, when he strokes the strings of his veena, out comes the sound, Radhika Ramana. Everybody please say that. Everybody please. Radhika Ramana, the name of Krishna and Radha, the one who gives pleasure, the one who satisfies, Radha. Radhika Ramana, the enjoyer. So Narada Muni is self-realized transcendental personality. He can go to the heavenly planets. He can come to earth. He can go to the hellish planets. No visa required. He is free to travel. He is called the transcendental spaceman. Unrestricted. Go anywhere. He goes also to Vaikuntha to see his Lord. Narayan. Everybody. Narayan. Yes. So he is the guru of Vyasadeva. Even though Vyasadeva is Bhagavan Rishi, he has a guru. Krishna himself, even though he's Adi Bhagavan, Adi Narayan, he also had Guru, Gargamuni and Sandipani Muni. So everyone, that's why the first song I sang, Vande Guru Sri Charanara Bindam. Everyone must have his spiritual master to guide in their life. So Narada came and questioned his disciple, saying, why are you despondent? Are you thinking that this body and mind are the objects of meditation and self-realization? Is that what you're thinking? And Vyasadeva very humbly said to his guru, my Lord, I am feeling deficient. I am feeling something is lacking. Even though I have compiled the Vedas, the Puranas, Upanishads, and this Vedanta Sutra, still I feel I have not done everything properly. Something is missing. Narada immediately said, yes. You have made one omission. My dear Prabhu, although you have compiled all these Vedic teachings, you forgot one thing. You forgot to explain who and what Krishna is. And you have encouraged people to enjoy material life in the name of religion. You have to teach them the highest principle. You have to teach them bhakti, devotional service. This is what you must now emphasize. The position of Krishna and his devotional service, bhakti. Therefore, as his final literary masterpiece, Vyasadeva compiled Srimad Bhagavatam. I was questioned in one program when I was in Santiago previous weeks. And this person was questioning something about something he read in the Mahabharata, another classic work of Vyasadeva. And so in answering him, I said, I will answer your question according to the instructions and teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam, because Srimad Bhagavatam is the topmost of all Vedic scriptures. It is the final conclusion. There is no higher conclusion than Srimad Bhagavatam. In this way, I pointed out to him how to resolve the apparent contradiction he was reading in the Mahabharata. Now, all the Vedic literatures are summarized. The essence of all the Vedic literatures are in Bhagavad-gita. The Srimad Bhagavatam picks up where Bhagavad-gita leaves off. In the Bhagavad-gita, the final conclusion, Savradamman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja ahang tvang sarvapapyebhyo mokshayishyami ma shucha. As Krishna's final instruction to Arjuna, give up all other processes of religion, self-realization, and you just take shelter of me. You just surrender to me. I will deliver you. I will protect you. Do not fear. Do not worry. Do not hesitate. Do not doubt. That is the main conclusion of Bhagavad-gita, that one should take shelter of Krishna. Then the intelligent person will say, how do I do that, my Lord? But Krishna already said that twice in Bhagavad-gita, at the end of the 9th, and just before speaking this Sarvadhamman. Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskaru mame vaishasi satyamte pratijani priyosime. Just think of me, Arjuna. Just think of me. Become my devotee. Become my servant. You should offer your respect. Bow down to me. Namaskuru. Offer your obeisance, your prayers. And worship me. But in detail how to do that, the details are given in Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhagavad-gita has 700 shlokas. Srimad Bhagavatam has 18,000. But they are saying the same thing. There is no contradiction. So in this class, I'm instructed to speak on Bhagavad-gita. So I request you to fold your hands and repeat after me the sacred 12-syllable mantra, which is the standard mantra before reciting Vedic scriptures. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, since I've come back from South America, I've been going there every year since 2005. I thought it was time for me to start learning Spanish because I always have a translator. So I said, I will start learning. So how am I learning? I have Bhagavad-gita in Spanish. And it's on my iPhone. So wherever I go, I can, now because I know Bhagavad-gita in English pretty good, and the word for word, so in Spanish it'll say, in Sanskrit it will say, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, so I know that, and then the Spanish is given, La Suprema Personalidad de Dios. So now I know how to say Bhagavan in Spanish. So little by little, I'm picking up. It's a long project, but I'm not going to be back for a year, so I have a year to learn maybe a few things. So I started with a chapter that I know very well. So since I've been studying that chapter in Spanish, allow me to speak on that chapter for you. It's a very nice chapter. Chapter 4. Chapter 4 is called Divya Jnanam, transcendental knowledge. This word, Sanskrit word, divyam, is very easy to understand its meaning. In English, we have a word divine. So divyam, Sanskrit, divyam, English word, divine. It's easy to make the correlation. Another way, divya means transcendental, spiritual, beyond this material nature. And jnanam means knowledge. So chapter 4 is entitled Transcendental Knowledge. So Krishna begins by telling Arjuna that before this day, on the battle of Kurukshetra, Krishna told Arjuna, I originally spoke this same knowledge millions of years ago to the president of the sun planet, the sun god. And his name, he gives the name, Vivasvan. You might know from the Mahabharata, even Vivasvan appears in the Mahabharata by giving Kunti her first son, Karna, who she had to put in a basket, float down the river, and the intrigue begins. But Kunti, she had received a benediction from Durvasa Muni. Durvasa Muni was that kind of sage, very easily angered. So it was not easy to satisfy Durvasa Muni. He was unpredictable in his mentality. He would show up at midnight at a king's palace. Feed me with all my 10,000 disciples. And then after everything was made, he would sometimes just leave. So Durvasa Muni is quite an interesting personality. He is an expansion of Lord Shiva. That is who Durvasa Muni is. He is a partial expansion of Shambhu. So Kunti was such that as a maiden, she was able to satisfy Durvasa Muni, and he gave her a benediction. I will give you one mantra. With this mantra, you can call any devata. So one day Kunti was saying, well, let me see. So she called. Vivaswan appeared right there in her room. And she was, okay, you can go back now. Vivaswan said, no. And therefore, he gave her that son, Karna, who, when he was raised, he was known as Radeya. So, Vivaswan, Krishna is saying, millions of years ago, I spoke this same Bhagavad-gita to Vivaswan, the deity in the sun planet. And he gave it to his son, who was the father of mankind, Manu. So that's Vaivasvata Manu, the current Manu. There are 14 Manus in one day of Brahma. So Krishna appears once in a day of Brahma, and he appears in that 7th Manvantara. And so Vaivasvata Manu. And then he gave it to his son, Ikshvaku. And Ikshvaku is one of the forefathers of Lord Ramachandra. Ikshvaku. Because Ramachandra comes from Surya Vangsha. You see how it all fits in. Krishna comes from Soma Vangsha, the moon dynasty. But nevertheless, Krishna spoke this knowledge originally to the sun god. So then Krishna says, this is how Bhagavad-gita came to human society. It was passed by first to the king, to his son. This is called parampara. The knowledge is passed down generation after generation. I visited back in 1995. I visited Jagannath Puri. So, Jagannath Puri temple, there are so many pandas and so many services to worship Lord Jagannath. And I have one friend who used to be a pujari priest at that Jagannath temple. He's my friend here in Los Angeles. And he was telling me how it is done. That for centuries, one family is in charge of cooking the rice for Lord Jagannath. And that service is passed down generation after generation. One family is responsible. So all the different services are passed down through the families, generation after generation. So in Sanskrit, that's called parampara, disciplic succession. So Krishna said, this science, Bhagavad-gita is a science. This is how Krishna is explaining to Arjuna. It's a science. It's the supreme science. Why? Because the science of God and the self. The science of self-realization, God realization. But then Krishna told Arjuna, on this day that I'm speaking to you, something has happened to the disciplic succession and the knowledge has been broken. Somebody has changed it. It has not been passed, because that's the key. The key is that the knowledge is passed down without any change. As soon as someone changes, it's ruined. Just like, say you are a pharmacist. So there are so many medicines. But if somebody changes it, that same medicine could cause death. So this science of Bhagavad-gita, Krishna detected at this time when he's speaking to Arjuna. The knowledge appears to be lost. Therefore, Arjuna, I'm starting again with you. You are going to be the start of the new disciplic succession. And what is that science? He says here, the relationship of the soul with God. That is what Bhagavad-gita is teaching. The relationship of you and God. This is why we read Bhagavad-gita. First, I have to be convinced that there is God. In Kali Yuga, many people don't believe in God. You may work with them. You may go to school with them. They don't believe in God. So Bhagavad-gita, one thing it does, it makes you convinced that there is God. The next thing it tells you, which you learn at the beginning in chapter 2, that you are a soul, that you are an eternal person, that you're not man, you're not woman, you're not black or white or Indian. That's not you. You are Atma, soul, part and parcel of God. So both things are taught in Bhagavad-gita. Who is God and who you are. That's the beginning of self-realization. Understanding who you are. In the Bhagavad-gita, when Krishna begins in chapter 2, 20 verses explaining the difference between the body and the soul. The difference between the eternal and the temporary. The difference between material and spiritual. That has to first be understood. That is the first lesson. So the relationship between you and God, that is the supreme science of Bhagavad-gita. Now Krishna says in one line something very, very significant. Bhaktosi me sakha cheti. Why is Krishna speaking Bhagavad-gita to Arjuna? Why not to Duryodhana? He certainly needed it. Why not to Karna? No. Krishna says, Bhaktosi me sakha cheti. I am speaking to you because you have the two necessary qualifications. Yes. In order to understand this science, you need qualifications. What are the qualifications? Bhaktosi me sakacheti. You have to be a devotee of Krishna and his friend. If you have those two qualifications, you're a devotee of Krishna and you see Krishna as your friend, you can understand Bhagavad-gita. But if you have some doubts as to Krishna's character, then Bhagavad-gita is going to be very, very difficult. Because you'll always have, I don't know about Krishna. I'm very fortunate. How am I fortunate? Somehow or other, don't ask me how, somehow or other, as soon as I heard about Krishna, I was immediately attracted. I had no problems with Krishna. Technically, the reason is I have been blessed with a pure spiritual master who planted in my heart, you'll know this phrase, Bhakti Lata Bij, the seed of devotion. That's what the Guru does. The Guru is that person who you can place full faith. Fortunately, I found my spiritual master, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, by hearing him, by seeing him, meeting him, but mostly by hearing. I had no doubts. Krishna, yes, you are the Supreme. Krishna, I am yours. And the more I read about Krishna, the more I like him. Just going back last 2 weeks that I was in South America, I was just every day reading Ramayana. And the more I read Ramayana, I fell more and more in love with Ram. That Ram's character is so ideal. How could you not appreciate the character of Ramchandra? When you see, right from the beginning, his flawless character, who could fail to be attracted? Yes, one person, Ravana. He could not appreciate Ram's character. But it's so noble, so honest, so selfless, so devoted to his parents, gave up the throne, accepted 14 years of hardship in the forest, just for what? Just to keep the word of honor of his father. He gave up the throne. But that's Ram. The ideal role as a human being. He's not a human being. He's Bhagavan. But he's playing the role of the ideal. He's teaching by example how to be the ideal human being. So the qualifications for understanding Bhagavad-gita: Krishna's devotee, Krishna's friend. How do you become Krishna's devotee? Very simple. You chant his name. Simply by chanting Krishna's name, you become his devotee. By reading about Krishna, you become his devotee. Singing about Krishna makes you a devotee. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, Krishna says, because you're my devotee, and because you're my friend, Arjuna, you will be able to understand Bhagavad-gita, what I am going to teach you. But then, Arjuna has a question for Krishna. Krishna, you and I are contemporaries. We're both about the same age. How am I to understand that you spoke to the sun god millions of years ago? How is that? You're the same age as me. I don't understand this. Krishna then said to Arjuna, Arjuna, many, many births you and I have had, but there's a difference between us. There's a difference. I remember all my births. You don't. You don't remember your previous births. I remember all of them. So this is a significant verse in the entire Bhagavad-gita. The difference between God and the living entity, Jiva. God is unlimited. Krishna is unlimited. But we are limited. We don't remember all the previous lifetimes we've had because our potency is very, very tiny, whereas Krishna's potency is unlimited. So the difference between God and the soul has to be understood. Krishna says, I remember everything. Then Krishna goes on to explain more about his position. He says, first of all, I am unborn. Although it appears that I take birth, actually I am birthless. I have a transcendental body. We do not have a transcendental body. We experience old age. How do you like old age? Do you like that? It's not fun, is it? No. But Krishna's body does not deteriorate. Our bodies are temporary. Krishna's body is eternal. So Krishna says, I have a transcendental body, and I am the Lord of all living entities. So right here in chapter 4, Krishna is establishing his divinity, that he is the Lord of all living entities. He's saying it right to Arjuna. Arjuna, I am supreme. I am God. What does it mean to be God? To be God means many things. There are different fulfillments that are required in order to be God. Here's one of them: the Lord of all living entities. We can barely be the Lord of our own family. But Krishna says, I am the Lord of all living entities. Later in Bhagavad-gita, Krishna will establish one way how that's understood. He's in each and everybody's heart. The same Krishna in everyone's heart. Not a different one. The same one. In your heart, your heart, your heart, and my heart too. Even in Donald Trump's heart. He's in everyone's heart. Then Krishna says, although I am the Lord of all living entities, still I come to earth, avatar. Avatar means one who comes down from the transcendental realm to the material realm. Avatar. So he says, I still appear in every millennium in this original transcendental form. Here the word millennium refers to a day of Brahma. Brahma, the engineer of the universe. And his day of the universe is millions and millions of years, according to earth calculation. Once in a day of Brahma, Krishna himself came. So that means he appeared very recently, only 5,000 years ago. Krishna himself appeared. And he himself won't appear, Krishna himself, the original, won't appear for many, many millions of years. Just 5,000 years ago, he appeared. When he doesn't appear personally, he has his various incarnations, various expansions, like Ram. Ram is an expansion of Krishna. There is one episode in the Ramayana which helps us to understand this. When Ram was in the forest, at one time he was approached by some rishis and sages. And they knew this is not some ordinary king who was banished to the forest. They knew he is Bhagavan. He is God. And they were also aware of various different transcendental relationships that are possible with God. Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, Sringar. These are the relationships possible with God. These sages were so spiritually advanced, they approached Ram in the forest. They said, "We know who you are. You're pretending to be an ordinary human. We know who you are. And we propose that you enjoy with us in this transcendental relationship, Madhurya, Sringar." But Ram, you know, Ram took a vow, Eka Patni Vrat. So Ram said, that's not possible in this incarnation. I cannot enjoy with you in that way. But when I appear next in my original form as Bhagavan Krishna, your desire will be fulfilled. So you all know the Krishna's Leela, Rasa Leela. So when that Rasa Leela occurred, various groups were joining the Rasa dance. The original or eternal Gopi associates. But some were being promoted, just like in your job. Sometimes you get a promotion, right? You sometimes get promoted, bigger pay, more responsibility. So in the same way, the night of the Rasa dance, different categories were being elevated. So one group of the gopis who danced were these sages who approached Ramachandra in the forest. Their desire was fulfilled. So there's different relationships. So, apart from Ram, there are so many incarnations, so many avatars. Matsya Kurma, Varaha, Nrsimha, Vamana, Parashuram, Balaram. And that's a mere indication. Actually, the Bhagavatam says the avatars are as numerous as the waves of an ocean. You can stand on the shore of the ocean. They'll keep coming and coming. You'll get tired counting. That's how many avatars are coming, one after another. Why do they come? Well, that's explained a little later. I won't spoil it. Because now, two main verses of Bhagavad-gita occur. That's why this chapter 4 is so nice. 2 main verses. So Krishna says, I appear. And now he's going to explain why he appears. Number 1, when there is a decline in real religion. And if there's a decline in real religion, irreligion will automatically arise. When there's not a strong government, what happens? The thieves and rogues, the gangs take over. Because they're looking for an opportunity for a weak government. They say, no one will check us, let us do our nonsense. But when there's a strong leader, then the rogues and thieves are kept in check. So Krishna says, when irreligion is on the rise, and that means real religion is on the decline, I come. And then he does 2 more things. I protect the faithful. I protect the devotees. And I deal, I castigate, I chastise the wicked. Ram was the same way. When at not even 16 years of age, Vishwamitra took Ram and Lakshman to kill that demoness. I can't remember her name, the first demon. What's that? No, way before that. Way before that. Now, Krishna will give me the answer in a few seconds. He's covering me right now. First, I must chant Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Anyway, the first demon that Ram killed was a woman. Who? Shurpanaka? No. That's it. Tadaka. Give that man a hand. Tadaka was the first. Yes, and he was hesitant to do it. But Vishwamitra said, no. She is evil and she deserves to be killed. Don't worry. Very nice, Tadaka. So you must be in Ram consciousness. Okay. So that's what God does. He supports, blesses, benedicts the devotees, and punishes the evildoers. And by God's very presence, he establishes what is the true religion. When Ram appeared, after Ram killed Ravan and they went back to Ayodhya, Ram ruled and everybody clamors for that Ram Rajya. Because it was the perfect kingdom, perfect society. Because Ram taught by example. So just by his living, Ram establishes the truth, justice. We would love right now if Ram could rule the world. That would be fantastic. But it's not meant to be. We're in the age of Kali. But this question is asked so many times. Prabhu, you just said, whenever and wherever there is the decline in religion and an increase of irreligion, Krishna says, I appear. This is Kali Yuga 2017. We're practically living in hell. Where is Krishna's avatar now? We need him now. The answer is yes. He's here in the form of the Hare Krishna mantra. Everybody, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. If you take shelter of this Mahamantra, you will be protected by Krishna. You will be blessed by Krishna. I am speaking from personal experience. By taking shelter of this Hare Krishna mantra as much as possible, even though this age of Kali is so horrible, you will be protected. You will be blessed. You don't need Ashirvad. Here's your Ashirvad, right here. You can have Ashirvad 24 hours a day. But the problem is, nobody believes. That's the problem. Or should I say, very few believe. It's called hyperbole, comparatively in the numbers. But if you take shelter of this Hare Krishna Mahamantra, then you will be delivered. So now, because do you remember your question from last time? Okay, hold on. Let me finish. I promised him I would answer his question I'm really glad you came. Thank you. So I'm going to finish up this section with perhaps one of the top 10 verses of Bhagavad-gita. I love this verse. This verse I'm going to speak on. If you understand it, it should make you very, very happy. Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tatvataha chaktva deham punar janma naiti mameti sorjuna. Krishna says in this beautiful verse, Janma karma divyam. My birth, my actions, transcendental, divine. Just like Ram, the first demon killed was a woman, but there was no sin for Ram. In the same way, the first demon killed by Krishna, Putana, a woman. But no sin can touch Krishna. So whatever he does, there is no sin. Same way with Ram. Sometimes people they ask, why did Ram banish Sita? There's no fault on Ram's part. I will answer that some other time, not today. But Ram banishing Sita is also transcendental divine action. So Krishna says, my birth, or in quotation marks, because he's not born, he just appears. He's already existing, he appears in this world. It looks like he's taking birth in the womb of Devaki, but that is a dramatic show. After all, when Krishna appeared, first he appeared as four-handed Narayan. So, he is transcendental. So his birth and all of his activities, as is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam in 90 chapters. 90 chapters. The biggest section of Srimad Bhagavatam deals with Krishna's activities. Krishna Leela. Leela means pastimes, enjoyments. All the things Krishna does from the beginning, killing Putana till the end, Mahabharata war, and then his own Maushala Leela, where he removes his dynasty, and Krishna goes back to his abode at the end. All these activities are divyam, divine, transcendental. So Krishna says, Janma karma chame divyam, evam yoveti tatvata. If you understand this in truth, if you understand this factually, then what's the payoff? You will not get chaktva dehang punar janma. After giving up this body, you don't come back and take birth again. you're liberated. How many people want to come back and take birth again? I don't. No, you'd be surprised. Sometimes I ask this question, people say, yeah, I want to come back. I go, you have my blessings. But you, I can see, are advanced. You know you don't want to come back. It's getting worse. So Krishna says, if you understand my birth and activities, and you understand them properly through the scriptures, through the spiritual master, then after giving up this body, you'll not come back. You'll go to my abode. Krishna's abode is there, the spiritual world, where there's no need of sunlight, moonlight, or electricity, where everything is wonderful and happy. Krishna says, that's where you're going if you understand. So this is impetus for me. This is why I read Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad-gita, Ramayana, day after day after day. That is why I chant Hare Krishna as much as possible, because I want to understand Krishna in truth. I want to go back home, back to Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama.